So many of you listening are incredible filmmakers, but if you're stuck in the cycle of always editing with no time to actually work on your business, it can really stunt your growth. Taylor and I see it all the time. A growing backlog, late nights behind the computer, and no space to focus on booking, marketing, or scaling. That's exactly why we're so excited to partner with Wanderlust. Wanderlust offers professional video editing services for filmmakers, including highlight films, feature films, documentary edits, ceremony and speech edits, elopements, and even social media teasers. And the best part is they match your style, so your films still feel like your artistry. Whether you edit in Final Cut, Premiere Pro, or DaVinci Resolve, they deliver a seamless outcome no matter which platform you use. Outsourcing your edits means more time working on your branding, making it to that networking event, and carving out time for education to actually grow your business instead of being buried in footage. Head over to wanderlust-videos.com to learn about their amazing services. And as a listener, you can get $100 off your first project with Wanderlust of $200 or more with the code LEVELUP100. If your backlog is keeping you from working on your business, Wanderlust is your solution.
This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petrinovich.
And I'm Kelley Gilster of 618 Studios.
And we are on a mission to help wedding filmmakers and photographers level up their businesses so you can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here.
Can we clip it on you? I'm going to hold it like an influencer.
Oh, I like that. I would be too if I didn't need both hands. If I were driving through LA right now.
Cassie, you should just include this as some pre-roll giggles. Welcome to a new series on the podcast.
Car chats.
Car chats.
This is so different than our normal, you guys. We're really excited about this series. Taylor and I are on a road trip right now. And a couple weeks ago, we said, let's do some podcast episodes and we'll make it into a series. And so here we are together in the car. Never have we ever thought of this or done this before. We have never recorded a podcast together.
We've never been in the same room or vehicle recording a podcast together. How fun. Shout out to our editor, Cassie, who is somehow going to edit out all the car noise and the horns honking and all that stuff throughout this episode and the next couple weeks. But we wanted to kick off this very casual series on the podcast, Car Chats, with honestly our origin story. So a few months ago, we hosted a holiday party for our league members. And after most of the people had left, maybe the last 10 people remaining at the party, we were all sitting around Kelley's dining room table. And the same question had been brought up multiple times throughout the evening, but this was one of the last ones. And I was like, okay, people actually do want to know this. And they've said, how did you two start Level Up? How did you get into this? And so we wanted to create a podcast episode about it.
Yes, we get it asked so often, whether we are at a conference together or anytime that we're kind of in person with people, people are so interested on how we started this partnership. And Taylor, you and I have talked about it a little bit on how it all started. And I mean, we know how it started. And I think people are going to be so surprised at how this all came to be.
It's not super unhinged. It's only slightly unhinged, I think.
I almost feel like we needed to bring in our husbands for part of this because they were very sus.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. So it'll all make sense. So I started the podcast in January of 2020. So this podcast has been a thing for over 5 years now, which is super fun. And I ran Level Up alone from 2020 to December of 2022, I guess. Yes, 2022. It went through many, I would say, renditions of who the target audience was, what I spoke about. It started off only for filmmakers specifically, since Kelley and myself are filmmakers. And then it evolved over time to include more general education for the wedding industry as a whole. And I will be the first to admit that I was not super consistent. I would be like putting out episodes for like 3 or 4 months at a time and then disappear for 1 or 2 months. And actually, one of our league members at our holiday party, his name is Josh. He's a filmmaker based in Southern California. He said that he was an OG podcast listener, and he was like, "Yeah, I remember like you would just go so long without posting a new episode." And I was like, "Yeah, I wasn't the best about it." um, and that's honestly kind of where Kelley comes into the picture. I had gotten to the point where after doing it by myself for almost 3 years, I kind of knew that I either needed to, you know, gracefully close the level up chapter or allow it to enter its new and better era. And I understood that I couldn't do it alone. It's almost like I needed an accountability buddy. I need someone to fill in my weaknesses. And I wanted it to be fun. Like it started as very fun, but it became more like work than fun. And I wanted it to be something that I did because I enjoyed. And so I randomly in January of 2023 texted Kelley out of the blue. If you scroll back on our Instagram, I actually put out like an anniversary post for when Kelley and I joined forces for Level Up, and there's a screenshot of that text in there. So a little Easter egg, you can find it. And then Kelley, I'll kind of kick it over to you on the receiving end of that.
Well, okay, let's even backtrack before. So we originally met. Was it through Illume Lutz? My launch of Illume Lutz?
Yes, because you launched that in March of 2020.
Yes. So you had started Level Up, was it January 2020?
Yes.
Okay, so like just within 3 months of then me launching Illume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember you were so good. We call it guerrilla marketing. You were so good about like getting visible to wedding filmmakers. I remember you followed me through your Illume count. You would like spam like all of my stuff, which was great because it brought awareness to Illume as a brand. And I was an early adopter of Illume for sure. I remember sending like a test edit for you to like color some of my clips, and I bought Illume and I loved it. And I think you must have like known about the podcast somehow because you reached out to me asking if you could sponsor the podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that must have been really shortly after because, as we all know, also in March of 2020, the pandemic hit. So all of a sudden, this new business that I formed that I was serious about, I had to become 20 times more serious because all of our weddings had canceled here in Southern California for honestly the foreseeable future. It took a solid 18 months until we got back into the general flow of things. And sure, I had, some weddings pivot and do micro things, whatever, but like Paul and I, 618 was all we had income wise. And so Illume was my first step into diversification, which was really exciting. And I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur. And so 2020 kind of helped that unleash it for me because I had time finally. I finally had time to build out something like Illume. And then I also had like a course that I made for like moms, like to edit together their home videos. And so because I had all this time within the course of that year, I used it into creating different, basically, roads of diversification. And then that also was creating our corporate commercial brand, West Made Films. Anyways, so long story short, I needed to get even more visibility than I originally planned. And so that came in the form of sponsoring like podcast and doing Instagram ads and like really building out like more of a marketing technique than just the guerrilla marketing. And I didn't have like a ton of money. So Taylor like put together a little sponsorship package for me. And I was like, great, let's do it. Maybe we did it for like 3 months.
I think you sponsored 4 episodes.
Well, 4 episodes, so 1 month.
I vividly remember, and actually those episodes are probably still live. If you scroll back to like episode 12 or like 16, I bet they're still there. I remember I took it so seriously. I remember I charged you $40 an episode.
No way. It was like nothing.
It was nothing.
And you did such a good job on the ad. I remember listening to it for like the first time. I'm like, oh my gosh, listen to this ad. It sounds so good.
I like had a little soundtrack to it. I read my little script. It was cute. I liked it. Okay, so we formed like a working relationship then, I guess. Yeah, that's when our our relationship started. And then I had you on the podcast, which you can still scroll back and find Kelley's episode from back in the day on the podcast.
Which still to this day, I have zero recollection of it. And actually, during the late night chat at our league holiday party, one of our league members, Carly, found the episode and pulled it up and like was like, "Oh my gosh, I found it! Like, here you are!" And so I actually need to go back and look and listen to that, because you had said like, "Oh, and then I brought you on the podcast," and I was like, "Wait, I went on the podcast? I don't remember anything.
Blacked out.
I blacked out. I was blacking out a ton of things in 2020. It was a crazy time to already kind of have like an semi-established business in the wedding industry. I feel like there's so many people who entered the wedding industry in like 2020, 2021. So you kind of now have this like pre-COVID businesses and like post-COVID businesses, which is cool to see. But we'd already been in the industry for 10 years when COVID hit. And so it was a wild time.
Oh, yeah. It took a toll for sure. Yeah. And then I had a few programs. I had a few like different mastermind programs that I was running. I had you speak in one of them, things like that, like from 2020 to 2022, right? So that's kind of the timeline. So text message, January of 2023 on a random, like I want to say it was like January 3rd or something. Like, I think the kids were probably still home from Christmas break. I'm just sitting on my couch having coffee in the afternoon. And I was like, okay, all right, shoot my shot. And if you said no, I probably wouldn't have continued Level Up at all.
Did you ask anybody else before me?
I had a short list of people that I wanted to ask, but I felt like personality-wise, and I told you this and I'll say it publicly, you were like the most doer person. I had recognized a few people like from like an optics standpoint, maybe like could be a good fit. I wanted it to be a woman and I wanted it to be a filmmaker, because even when you came on, we kept like on with teaching filmmakers first before we kind of expanded into talking to photographers as well. But no, you were like the forerunner on the short list.
Really?
But I think if you would have declined, I probably would have like had my tail between my legs and like knocked my confidence out of me. So thanks for not.
I remember I was at the gym at the time. There was this new gym that opened up like 20 minutes from Hall and I, and we were living our best lives because we had 2 kids at that point. We could do like this gym with childcare. It was brand new, so much fun. And we would like, it would be kind of like our afternoon thing. Sometimes I'd work from the gym, whatever. So I was like kind of gym ratting it up in that era. And I get out of the gym, walking back to my car, check my phone, and I see the text message from Taylor. And I can't remember, did I even text you back or I just straight up called you?
You just called me.
You're like, what's happening? I think you were like, hello?
So fun fact, before you, I was like not a phone person at all.
You're like, who is this boomer calling me?
Luckily, I had your number saved in my phone because I probably would have answered if it was just like a random number. I would have declined you. No, it was great. I want to say like from that first conversation, we like talked about our goals and how we wanted things to look. And it was like a gentleman's agreement, like a virtual handshake, like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. So we chatted more then over the course of a few weeks. That was in January. Was it by March I flew up to you for us to outline the luxury framework?
Yes. So I would say one of the things like, or some of the things that we had kind of discussed in those first like few weeks were like, how do we want Level Up to look? What do we want the brand identity to be? What do we want to be known for? What value do we want to bring to the industry? And originally it was filmmakers, but what you really brought to the table, which I loved, was speaking more to helping people enter the luxury market. That was new. That was never something that Level Up ever was before. And so that was a big pivot. And then with that came like a big like brand identity shift and like the tone of our brand, the brand voice, the colors, like the imagery that we were using like throughout social media, like things like that, the website, I don't know, all those things. So all those things like really shifted. And I feel like that was like the key was like you bringing that to the table. And then we knew from the beginning we wanted to make a course.
Yeah, I had already made a course previously. You hadn't had a course though, but you had launched your programs, like your coaching programs before, which is something I'd never done before.
Yes. Yep. So, yeah, but I had never like sat down and like scripted and recorded a course before. So you flew up. That was the first time we met in person was when you flew from Orange County to Sacramento, and we went and sat in a Pete's coffee shop and we recorded some time lapses of us like outlining the course, and we outlined the whole thing, and that course is still available for purchase today. And we still use it with our mastermind students, which is so fun to have like one of the very first like I would say solid like piece of information that we like threw our combined knowledge in to still be utilized here in 2026.
Yeah, like it was putting our our heads together, our combined, 24 like 2 decades combined in the industry, and it still is very much like the core and the framework of what we guide our students through and everything that's needed to be able to succeed into the luxury space. So, um, I love it. I did want to get into education. And like you said earlier, you needed to find a partner who filled like your weak areas. And I definitely have weak areas that I it wasn't until, like, we started then even working together for months and months that I'm like, "Wow, this is, like, so much better than we complement each other so much better than I even, like, imagined that we could have." Like, you get into, like you form a new friendship and you kinda have, like, ideas of what that friendship is going to, like, evolve into or become, and sometimes you're like, "Oh, that really didn't, like, work out the way that I thought it would," or I had, like, preconceived ideas of who this person was or how they could, better support a friendship or whatever, business partnership. And I feel like it has totally exceeded all of my expectations.
Aw, that might be like one of the nicest things you've ever said to me.
I don't If you know me, I don't do emotions. So that was like a big one right now.
I love you too.
Oh.
Here at the Level Up Co., Kelley and I truly do believe that an elevated client experience from the very first touch point of that first email all the way through the delivery of your wedding films or those final galleries are all so important. And that's why Kelley and I both have been using and loving VidFlow for the last several years, and we recommend to all of our students and our audience members to use VidFlow as well. Delivery experience truly matters. The way your clients view their films for the very first time should be a magical moment. It needs to be a professional and branded experience, instead of basic file sharing like Dropbox or Google Drive, or even Vimeo or YouTube links. Through VidFlow, clients can stream their videos through smart TVs, streaming devices, and setup boxes. Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, you name it. There are so many options for clients to watch and experience their films for the very first time on the big screen at home. And VidFlow is now offering photo delivery as well. They now support photo delivery with their new hybrid galleries, which is a major benefit for hybrid shooters and combined photo and video teams. You can now deliver your beautiful photo galleries alongside your video galleries in one place. Level up your delivery experience for 2026 and beyond with VidFlow. You can get started today by going to vidflow.co/thelevelupco. Yeah, no, it's so great. And it's so clear like what each of our weaknesses and strengths are. And I've said it like, I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but I've definitely said it to our mastermind students and to you like many times. But we are like true yin and yang. Like we fill each other's voids. Wow, that sounded weird. Perfectly. And it's really great. Well, at least from my perspective, maybe you're just like letting me, but I feel like we each want to do different things too. So there's very little like stepping on each other's toes or like overlap of like fighting for like roles that we both want to play.
Yeah. Like I love managing the continued like curation of the start of the experience of Mastermind throughout like Mastermind. Like I'm a huge like experiential person. And so, monitoring our alumni, like I'm even like fighting you for like office hours of like, seeing our alumni and like being a part of those meetings and business coaching because I love to see the relationship just build from, the week before Mastermind when we're like getting everybody into the Facebook group and making sure that it's a really seamless experience. I will say too, like this past Mastermind round that we had at the end of 2025, one of the best things that you can say to us is like, wow, this is so organized. I can already tell that this is going to be amazing. And I'm like, thank you. Like we work so hard to make sure that the value in which our students are placing in us as their mentors is every expectation is met.
No, totally. I love it. And it's great too because like if you want to dive into like our roles, like I love all the behind the scenes work. Like that's where I feel like I really thrive. There's nothing better to me than sitting on the couch at 5 a.m. with my coffee and my laptop and my hair looking like a crazy person and just like doing all the like I mean, I'm not super great at graphic design, but I try. The graphic design, like planning out our Instagram grid, mapping out podcast episodes, like playing with our website. Like I do a lot of our launch stuff. So like all the like ads, slide decks, all of that. And then Kelley's like our public facing. I would say you're like more of the public facing.
Really?
I would say so.
I'm typically maybe more the ones that if you're chatting in the DMs with me, it may be more me, or I'm sending you a voice memo like in return for the most part, unless it's a specific question that comes to us that I know just Taylor's going to be a better fit for it, because Taylor's like, it's like golden retriever and like black cat, but not that the black cat is like mean, but like she'll just like shoot you straight. And sometimes the golden retriever can like too gently like skirt around the situation without just giving you like clear, straight feedback. And that's what Taylor does. So it is nice too that when we're both teaching mastermind, if we get a tough question that we just want to give a student like a clear direction, I don't always know how to say that in a way. And Taylor's just like, I'm just going to shoot it to you straight. This is what needs to happen. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm glad that Taylor took that for me because I was going to like, whatever, just beat around the bush.
I'm really good at like ripping the Band-Aid off, I think. But I think I prefer to be communicated that way to me. So I think that's why my communication style is that way. And it may be because I don't like reading between lines. I take things very like face value. So if you're like fluffing things up, I'm going to believe all the fluff. And then like, I feel like I get burned because I was so gullible. I feel like we were chatting the other day through text and you're like, Taylor's the gullible one. Like she would have totally believed this.
There's always some sort of spammy email that's coming through or something. And I have to always be like, I think it was like Cassie. Cassie, we're going to bring you into this. Cassie, we were in a group text together and it was like someone's logged in through Instagram. And so like the only people that have the login to our Instagram is like Taylor and me and Cassie. And so like, it's like, are either one of you guys logging in right now? And we're like, don't press a button. That is for sure a spam thing. Like I just got one recently for Venmo. Like someone tried to log into your Venmo. I'm like, look at the actual email. If the actual email looks fishy, then don't. She's like, okay. And I was like, Taylor's most likely to fall for these for sure.
Because I believe everything. Yeah, anyway, so that's why I like the straightforward communication style because that's what I like to receive. So it can protect my gullibility, if you will. Okay, so honestly, like that's kind of the story. It's very short and sweet, kind of weird. We never met in person before.
Our husbands were like, I mean, right now, us sitting in the car, how many times have we ever been in the same space together? Like, it's like less than 10 times.
We might be approaching 10.
Which is still crazy. I bet people listening right now are like, what?
So in 2025 alone, just 2025, it was January was Kindred, March was Kinetic.
Yeah.
We hosted our holiday party and we went to Engage Santa Barbara. So that was just 2025. 2024, I want to say my family went to Disneyland and you guys met up with us in downtown Disney and we had dinner.
That was 2023.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, because I didn't have Levi yet. I bet 2024 was a little bit lighter because I had Levi. So I don't feel like I was like traveling as much and we were just doing more things like virtually with me having the new baby.
Headshots together though in the fall of 2024.
Yeah.
So that may have been the only one, which would bring us to 5. Okay, and then 2023 would be you came up to Sacramento to record the course. I came down to Orange County. To map out the course, I came down to Orange County to your house to film the course. You met up with us in downtown Disney, and then you came up to Davis for a corporate shoot, and we met up in like Sacramento or something for dinner, which would bring us to number 9.
Oh my gosh. So this is our 9th time ever being together.
Okay, that is kind of crazy.
That is crazy. I remember, so 2023, so second time we were ever together, and we had already done one launch together of the Luxury Mastermind, I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah, the first time we launched it was in like the first week of June on your birthday of 2023.
Yep. So, and then you guys did Disneyland sometime that summer. And I remember your husband, James, we're like there having dinner. It is chaotic. We're at like if you guys have young kids and you had already had 3 kids at the time, and I think my third kid really chilled me out, but still with the 2, it was a nightmare situation for me to be at like a sit down restaurant with a server, like, and I'm just locked into like a confined table, like with little these little crazy children. And so, anyways, but James was like, one time he just looks at Paul during dinner. He's like, "What do you think of these girls? What do you think of I mean, it's great, but like, were you ever like so concerned like that they were just jumping right into a business partnership in the way that they did? They had never met in person before. They had maybe talked 10 times." And Paul's like, "Yeah, I mean, I say it all the time to Kelley, like, I don't think that you really," because I never even talked to Paul about it. I
didn't talk to James about it either.
Yeah, so I'm like, "So this is what I'm doing." I just like walk in the door being like, "So this is what I'm doing." And he was just like, "Okay." But now it's turned into so much a huge part of each of our lives. And Paul's made comments about like, if I knew how big this would have gotten, I hope that you would have consulted me on this before. Not that he would have said no, but it would be like more of a like marital agreement of like, okay, cool. This is like the new direction of our lives, and this is what, because it has changed too, like the way that his corporate brand like operates because of all of our commitments through Level Up.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, we spend so much time on Level Up. Like, it is, I mean, I would consider it a full-time gig in itself outside of our primary brands and your corporate brand. So yeah, it definitely is demanding when it comes to the number of hours. And stress levels sometimes can get a little high, which can bleed into the family, but I love it. I'm like so happy. I feel like it was meant to be.
It really was. It really, really was. And yeah, I can't imagine. And I wanted to get into education. I don't think I talked about this, but I did want to get into education because education is, I mean, I was a film major. So like education surrounded the part of this whole start of a journey for me as a filmmaker. And like I've talked about a little bit about it too on the podcast, but like my video production teacher in high school, like it started through teachers like that got me into this. And so I love to be able to now like consult and coach others to be able to help them make this a reality for themselves.
It is rewarding if you look at it from like a teacher perspective and like seeing people who are just absolutely killing it. When we initially started our like teacher student journey, like they were little bebés in the industry, and it's fun to know that not only are we enjoying like the ride while it's happening, but it's having lasting impact on people's like very real lives. So I don't know.
All right, well, we're coming up onto some traffic. We are currently in LA, specifically Santa Monica right now, and Culver Boulevard up here. We're getting into some traffic. So do you want to call this one?
Yeah, actually, can we find a Starbucks?
Yeah, let's find a Starbucks.
Should we start the next episode with us ordering the Starbucks? Can we make this like super road trippy?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. We'll see you guys next week on the podcast for our little, what are we calling these? Car chats?
Car chats.
All right. See you next week.
That's so fun. Okay, let me find a Starbucks.
Thank you for joining us in today's conversation. Please help us reach more filmmakers and photographers like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it to social media. And don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.